Guys, straight away good news for us. Ukraine started the attack not far away from Makhnovka. Maybe it's the counterattack because before Russia took this ground. Let's go to update. It was yesterday and it is today. Ukraine retook all of the settlement and more. Now let's switch to the satellite image for you to see everything. So all of the streets, all of the buildings were recaptured, let's say, by Ukraine. Before, like 10 days ago, Russia started its offensive maneuver towards Makhnovka. But this attack failed for Russians. It seems like Ukrainian forces expected this move from the Russian side. That's why Russians now are trying to get to Sudzha from the flanks, but still they're not capable to do it for this hour. In this sector, Russia doesn't use North Korean soldiers, they use them on the northern side of the Kursk region. Sudzha still remains the main supply hub for the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kursk region, and the settlement itself is divided by this river into two of the parts. Ukraine got control over it just in a matter of 1 week, then the Kursk offensive operation was started. So for the Kursk region, just the positive updates for today, and we're gonna speak more about the Kursk Oblast and more about the Eastern Front lines in this video just a little later, because we have the breaking news. This video was shared 1 hour ago from Kazan, Tatarstan, Russian Federation. As you can see, Ukraine may deliver some of the worms even to remote Russian areas. The local airfield was hit, and also it is the facility which produces the airplane parts. And the precise target was probably the tanks with the jet fuel. And yeah, we have the confirmation that definitely one of the tanks was hit, but probably jet fuel wasn't inside of this particular one, since you may say it's not burning, but maybe this tank is just robust. So we may say about the limited success of the Ukrainian strike this time. And already media report about the fire in the Russian aviation plant, but we see the limited result of the strike. Well, probably it was one more and the Russians just did not show all of the picture. Alright, let's return back to the Kursk region. I use this map from the Ukraine Daily Update. The link for the source I'll put in the video description just below. So let me say that Russia continued to push Ukraine from the flanks. As I say to you, their goal is to advance towards Sudzha, but here Ukraine was successful. But in this sector, Russia uses North Korean soldiers to attack Pogrebki and Malaya Lokna. For the last months, Russia moved quite a lot in this area and also over here with the help of North Koreans, and not only they throw them directly to straightforward attacks, but at the same time the capable Russian forces attack from the flanks. It's their strategy as usual. Russia also continued to push here not far away from Solitkova, but Ukraine keeps positions. Russians are not effective in this direction. Moreover, Ukraine starts to attack in this direction, and before Ukraine tried to push Russians away even towards Velika Soldatska. And those actions are telling that Ukraine is in active defense, sometimes striking with counterattacks using some of their resources. Maybe the goal for Ukraine is to exchange the territory of the Kursk region on territory in the Kharkiv Oblast, which Russia occupied. By the way, guys, here is the small settlement of Berdy, the small village which is not even marked on this map from this zoom. And Russians told that they demolished all of the Ukrainian attacks and convoys towards Berdy, but in fact it's not like that. They've just presented kind of the limited evidence with 1 or 2 Ukrainian vehicles being hit, but it's happening as usual in the Kursk region. Every war brings losses. And the recent event that Russia wants to get to Pogrebki, we have the evidence about it. So there was the battle near the local church, and that is how Osanit Analytics actually may analyze the footage and bring the all information on the military map. And again, I will share the link for a region in the video description below. And now we have the confirmation that there was the fight on this particular crossroad in Pogrebki settlement. And Ukraine also tried to attack in Cherkasska Porichna, so here is the confirmation of the Ukrainian tank operating in the area against the Russian infantry. And also the confirmation of the Ukrainian strike in Makhnovka, here, and here. Ukraine regained the local hospital and some of the other buildings. Our forces were spotted there. And probably because of the Ukrainian counterstrike, another high-ranking Russian officer has been eliminated in the Kursk region. His rank was Lieutenant Colonel and the name Yevgeny Tikhanovich, deputy commander of the 22nd Motorized Rifle Regiment, and he participated in annexation of Crimea back in 2014. What can I say? Karma. So Russia continued to lose its major commanders of the army even in the Kursk region. It means that Russia is in desperate and demands army to go faster, stronger, but it doesn't work like that. If they have problems with communications, those officers are obligated to go close to the front lines and command almost directly with their forces. For them, as you can see, it's not safe. By the way, my friends, if you want to support the job that I do here on YouTube, you might join me on Patreon. I'll put the link for my Patreon page right in the video description below. Thank you so much for your kind support. Alright, the very expensive Russian radar Neba-U or Neba-SVU was destroyed, and one of those were damaged at the same time. It happened in the Kherson region. This stuff belonged to the Russian 900th Air Defense Missile Brigade, and you may see what happened to one of the trucks. As Russians say, the Ukraine used 3 of their drones to hit this vehicle, and one of the radars, as you can see, it suffered significant damages. Well, actually, Neba-U was damaged over here, and here we have the generator vehicle, which was used to provide electrical energy to operate that system. Well, maybe it also was the command center, because I can see the remains of the kung, we call it, so the room which is attached to the car. But maybe it was used just for the energy. A video presented to us by Strunenko. Here you can see lots of the Russian vehicles. One more Russian attack was stopped by Ukrainian UAVs. UAVs help a lot. In what direction of the Kursk region this attack was stopped? Well, I will tell you, then I find out. Alright, Ukraine sends more of the crap Polish-made systems to the front lines. This video was shared today. Well, strangely, those systems do not have the drone protection, but they may operate far away from the front lines, and sometimes Ukraine even put those underground, creating the mesh on top. So yeah, it could be the way out, and for sure they're not used in the Kursk region, because Ukraine has triangles out there, and here you can see the different tactical marking on the vehicles. Pluses or crosses, up to you. And now guys, let's go to the front lines review. Miraculously, we have the good news even for Ukraine out there. Ukrainian defense forces regain positions in Makhnivka, yes, it's the Kursk region, but also in Zelenivka. So let's go to the place. It is here. Sorry, it's called Zelenivka, not Zelenivka. So it was yesterday and it is today. Again, let's zoom in. Yesterday, today, Ukraine repelled Russian attack on this side and also moved inside this small village. So we may say that it was this sort of the counterattack. Why is it so important for Ukraine to regain this territory? Because Russia before wanted to move to Ulakli to cut the way out for Ukrainian army, because Ukraine is little by little but going out, and it will leave Dachne. Yes. So Russia tried to jam Ukrainian forces here, but as you can see, Ukraine did everything possible for it not to happen. And with this counterattack, our guys are more secured here. And you know guys, I analyzed the situation in this particular Kurakhove direction, and the commander who commands this operation right now, the defense operation, he is very competent compared to what it was before. The previous commander actually caused the Ukrainian army to be trapped in Uspenivka. According to the deep state, our guys managed to get out, but with losses, unfortunately, from this settlement. But after that, I see that command is doing the right thing. And here, actually, I was, let's say, not wrong, but I was really concerned about this Russian army movement, but instead Ukraine sent some of the reinforcements, and it's not the risk any longer. So it gives our guys the time to defend a little more, causing Russians significant losses. But after all, Ukraine will obviously withdraw the forces from this pocket, and Russia will get it under control. Unfortunately, they'll move to Constantinople and maybe later on to Alexeyevka here. But the situation, for example, in Velika Novosilka, well guys, it's not good. Let's go to the satellite image, and as you can see, Russia moved here significantly. For Ukraine, it's the worst situation out there from all of the front lines. It was understandable, even for me, that if Russia cuts all of the supply connections, Ukraine should withdraw its army from Velika Novosilka, but somehow our soldiers haven't got this order. But this is, I would say, a critical situation, because the only way out is going across this river just like that. This bridge is being cut, so yeah, you have to cross the river, leaving all of the equipment behind. So whoever commands this part of the front line is not competent. I could be wrong, but that's what I see from the military map analysis. Well, the good news that in this entire Pokrovsk direction, Russia moved just in single area. So it was yesterday, it is today, it happened near to Slovyanka. The Russians gained just one tree line. However, I'm quite concerned about what is happening in Ivanivka, Terny, and so on. So Russia crossed the river and they're trying to get to Liman. Let me show you what I mean. They go to Kolodesy and they want to take this road to Stavki and later on to Liman. And from Liman, they might advance towards Sloviansk. So they want to create one more attack vector. And here the movement is really big. So it was yesterday. It is today. Maybe it didn't happen for the 24 hours, but today we have the update. And here you can see this advancement. So towards Liman, towards Slaviansk, we have this vector, or Russia has this vector. From Chasiv Yar, they want to go to Alexeyevo-Drushkivka or to Konstantinovka. And from Torets, they also want to go to Konstantinovka. From Pokrovsk, maybe here, we'll see. But as you can see, they may operate in many of the points. In some of the directions, they are standstill for a long time, despite the big crisis in the Russian army with their army personnel, with the armored vehicles. But they move, as you can see, because Ukraine has similar type of the crisis, especially with the infantry. And also they moved over here, I guess, yes, yesterday and today. Not the big advancement, but still they also go, as you can see, on attacks in the Kharkiv region. So Kharkiv is also priority for the Russian army, not just those regions which they put in their constitution. No, Russia wants to occupy more territory, including this big city. I guess that's it for the front lines update. Let's go to the other important news. There was the big interview of General Commander of Ukrainian Army Syrsky. He says that the strikes in Russia have significantly impacted its combat capabilities. In just months, Russian artillery armor consumption has nearly halved from 40,000 rounds daily to much less. I guess if he means halved, it should be 20,000 rounds, something around that. Some say I have never read about 40,000 rounds per day. It was even more for Russia. It was like 70,000 per day at some point. The Russian round consumption decreased not just because Ukraine hits the Russian ammunition warehouses, but also because Russia runs out of the artillery systems. The thing is that the system itself may run and everything is okay with it, but the barrel of the system, it has its own resource. It cannot be used for a long time. And to produce this barrel, you need to have a special technology. And with all of its efforts, Russia is still incapable to produce many of the barrels. Especially for the much older artillery systems, they have those barrels just in stocks. They're unable to produce those any longer. For Msta S, this one, they can do it. But for D30 and modifications before, no. Only they may take the barrels from stock. And the Russian artillery storages are just shrinking. And obviously Ukraine hits Russian ammunition depots. This is one of the satellite images where Russian depot was totally demolished. Also, Syrsky said that Ukraine cannot win this war in defense only. So I assume that he thinks about the possible attacks on Russian positions. Well, it's kind of risky with the limited resources Ukraine has. Ukrainian army should be increased by at least 3 times to successfully attack Russian one. An article from the New York Times about Antony Blinken, they say that he insisted that Ukraine should continue the war at the end of the 2022. Then Ukraine had this huge success on the front lines. They occupied Kharkiv region and Kherson Oblast. Probably remember the Joint Chief of Staff Mark Milley. Well, he suggested late 2022 that Ukraine should capitalize on battlefield gains by seeking peace talks with Moscow. But Mr. Blinken insisted the fight should go on. Kind of the interesting picture. Then General suggests the peace talks, but Blinken, General Secretary, suggests that the fight should go on. Well, actually, guys, we know from the same source, the New York Times, that Russia wants Ukraine to capitulate based on the Istanbul agreements, which were shared here by New York Times well before. Russia wants Ukraine to have just 80,000 soldiers in its army. It wants the Western weapons to go away or never been used against Russia. How it is reachable, I don't know. And they also want no any security guarantees for Ukraine. It means that they will attack Ukraine once again with their strong army against the Ukrainians' weak army. And because of that, the peace talks with Moscow for now and for that time, well, those are just not possible for Ukraine. Maybe that is why Blinken, who knows more of what is happening in political field as well, suggested the fight to go on. Also, Ukraine got the same suggestion from Boris Johnson, by the way.
I will end the war in Ukraine, I will stop the chaos in the Middle East, and I will prevent World War III from happening, and you have no idea how close we are.
He forgot to say that I will heal those who are sick and convert the water into wine. But actually Trump vowed to end the war in Ukraine before taking office as he promised. The thing is that Donald Trump is the populist politician, so he is looking for the topic to capitalize on, for example, the war in Ukraine, conflict in the Middle East, possible World War III, as he says, is very close. But in fact, he doesn't have any sort of the program, especially for Ukraine. He still doesn't have the plan. Well, the Gaza plan was prepared before by the previous administration, but there is no existing peace plan for Ukraine, so that's why for Donald Trump it will be a big challenge. About TikTok, well, I touched this topic yesterday. The platform was banned for several hours, and now they thank to President Trump's effort that TikTok is back in the United States. Kind of the strange thing actually. Jake Bro said that TikTok shut itself down for a day to give free promotion to Trump. Biden chose not to enforce the ban, and Trump hasn't been sworn in yet and hasn't done anything to reverse anything. It's just the Chinese manipulating Trump and so on. Well, Jake Bro has his own opinion. I have my own opinion about TikTok and everything, because I use this platform, and actually if you use it properly it could be helpful even for education and everything. Well, actually Joe Biden signed the potential TikTok ban into the law. It happened long time ago, April last year. But at the same time it was Donald Trump who originated the TikTok ban in 2020. And more Republicans voted for the ban. And later on the Constitutional Court decided to apply the ban. It happened just a few days ago. That's why the TikTok actually was banned. And after all, I think there were some of the negotiations between TikTok management and Trump's team to release this ban. And the ban was released today, even before Trump's inauguration. I think that Donald Trump's policy changed because he understood how popular he is himself on TikTok, and he might influence the younger generation. A couple of days ago, Donald Trump admitted it himself that they are losing young votes for Republicans. So 170 million Americans who use TikTok would be grateful to Donald Trump, obviously. Not everyone, but creators would like that move. And again, banning TikTok will not resolve the issue with China or not China, because people were so frustrated with the decision of Congress and senators that they moved massively to red note. Yes, I told you about this stuff yesterday, but people just gave their own data voluntarily to the Chinese companies, to the servers and infrastructure located in China for this application. For TikTok, you have infrastructure in the United States. Here is full in China. People are just going there because they like algorithms and they feel that the government wants to control them. Actually, it's really like that. Every government wants to control you personally. And Biden, well, I think he just separated from this topic. TikTok was far behind his main priorities, which is now probably the fishing in a lake. And this is Chinese manipulating Trump, and Trump loves China. America now has China first policy. I don't agree with those statements, absolutely, because Donald Trump is also concerned about the ownership, so United States will have to have 50% of the ownership of the company. By doing this, we save TikTok, keep it in good hands and allow it to stay up. So what will happen that at least half of the company will be just sold to the United States ownership. Someone or a group of people, billionaires, will just buy the part of TikTok, and that is how it will be legalized. So TikTok ban, it's not lifted fully. They now have roughly 90 days to change the main ownership. 50% of the company, it's still worth billions and billions of dollars. Well guys, if Elon Musk somehow purchases this, I don't know, maybe China ownership is after all better. And about Twitter, I don't personally like this platform. After it was bought by Elon Musk, I was never active on Twitter, but I check some of the authors, especially those who speak about Ukraine. But in recommendations, I usually have Russian propaganda. Twitter fits me with that all the time. Alright, officially released a meme coin, this time it's $Trump. Well, some experts and people who familiar with this stuff say that it is scam, especially after the Hawk to a Girl story, you probably know about it. But some of them influencers and channels start to over-exaggerate, like showing those kind of the graphics, saying that Trump coin is crushed, it's already scammed in a single day or in 2 days. But if you check, for example, Binance, they show the wider picture, and definitely there was the huge drop in this meme coin Trump, but now little by little it's restoring its value. So if it is really scam, it is not 1 day or 2 day scam. No, it will last for some time. And why it could be scam? Well, because the Trump's affiliated members purchased the most part of this coin. So actually there is not more than 20% of all of the coins now on the market, and the most profit is gained by the hodlers or holders, which in this case is mostly Donald Trump. In this peak, the total cost of all of the coins was equal to 30 billion United States dollars. Absolutely craziness, but people buy this stuff. And you know what? There is also Melania meme coin. It's crazy what is happening. And it was 12 billion United States dollars for now, 12 and a half. Well, guys, what can I say? It's really interesting that people continue to invest in that stuff. They want to buy the coin, then it's still low, and they wait for the price to rise and then sell it. That's why we have this roller coaster all the way, especially in the meme coins. So it's kind of the risky stuff, I would say, that Donald Trump decided to do with his spouse Melania. Because if it is a scam like with Hawk Tour and many people would lose their money, investors who believe in Donald Trump, with the same time that Donald Trump gets their funds, he would lose their votes. Well, I don't really think that Donald Trump even understands what he's doing with this cryptocurrency. He heard about the cryptocurrency, but he's not expert in that. And someone from his team actually told him, okay, we can earn lots of the money. Let's do it. Let's release the meme coin, which could be potentially a scam coin. Like it happened, for example, also with Hawk 2. It wasn't like her idea at first to invest into her meme coin. No, there were some of the people who capitalized on her success, famous, and so on. Well, here potentially Donald Trump may have significant reputational losses, but he would earn some money. Unfortunately, it's not the good way how you might use your recognition, your political influence, and reputation in general. So it's really risky stuff. To Donald Trump, with unbanning TikTok, he got some of the points from the audience, especially young audience. But with his own crypto project, he might lose everything of that. But it's too late to cancel this project because it will dive down and investors would lose their money. So it's no-go situation already for Donald Trump, and I think that after all it was the scam project proposed to Trump and he agreed on that. So we'll see what happens to it. I would be very surprised if the coin survives at least this year. Alright, Trump's team prepares a phone call between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in the coming days after inauguration. As the CNN source says, yes, I don't know whether we can trust this source or not. Nowadays, it's legacy media, after all, very biased. But they say that the goal of the conversation is to discuss a person meeting in the coming months. Well, I think that definitely there will be the call between Donald Trump and Putin. And Donald Trump is still out of the plan of how to stop the war in Ukraine. So he wants to speak with Putin, but speaking with Putin will not resolve anything. It will just add more points to this bloodsucker. He might understand that he might do whatever he wants to do in Ukraine. He would still be accepted by high politicians as Donald Trump, who is now the main politician in the world. Sadly, there still should be the time for Donald Trump and for his team to understand with what crazy person they want to have a deal, I mean, with Putin. Remember some of the undersea cables which were damaged by the Russian and Chinese ships? Well, Washington Post says that it could be because of the accident. Kind of the strange accidents, I would say, and they happen quite a lot in the Gulf of Finland. Almost every 2 months we hear about the cables cut in the Baltic Sea and they say it's the accident. I honestly don't believe that, but I could be wrong. Great news from Israel. Hamas released 3 of the hostages. So those 3 girls are released. They were kept as hostages for a very, very long time. So Romy, Emily and Doran, thanks God, they're now with their families. And it's the first step in so-called peace negotiation between Hamas and Israel. And it's really hard to predict whether the peace agreement will be implemented. But the first step is done. Guys, those were the main news for today. Gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine, and as you can see, not only because we have different topics to talk about. Some of you say that Dennis, stop talking about American politics, stop talking about Donald Trump and so on. I talk what I want to talk about. I just give you my own opinion, and you know what? United States of America, they influence the whole world. That's why it's very, very important of what is happening there. And now, my friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.